All right, we're live. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us with Remitbee Expert. Today, we have our HR superhero and career coach, Gurpreet Kaur Mann. Welcome, Gurpreet. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Benita. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak on this great topic today.
Yeah, I think a lot of the audience is, with everything that's going on right now in terms of job security and immigration, it's one of those times that I don't think a lot of us were prepared for. And especially someone new to the country or planning to come to the country, finding a job is hard for everybody right now, or even keeping one. And it would be especially difficult to people without Canadian experience, which I think the topic that we're going to discuss will really help them with that.
Yeah, for sure. It is difficult times with COVID. It's making job search very difficult. But even pre-COVID, the biggest hurdle that new immigrants faced was the no Canadian experience barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a great topic to talk about how newcomers to Canada can get their first job and overcome this challenge. So many newcomers, I feel bad for them. They suffer so much. They have to do survival jobs or take low-paying jobs. So I've actually taught this workshop as of last year. I've been teaching this workshop. So it'd be nice to, teach it to your audience on how to overcome the no Canadian experience barrier.
Yeah, I think a lot of our audience either is an immigrant themselves or knows someone or is planning to come to Canada. And I know you have a presentation set up for us. So I think why not we just jump into it right now. And if the audience has questions, feel free to just type in the YouTube live chat and we'll talk about them.
Okay, sounds good. Let me open my slides. Interesting. I thought I had it open. Okay, now I don't know where it went. Okay. There you go. Okay, can everyone see? Benita, can you see?
Yep, it's perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so once again, Benita, thank you for having me. So today I'm going to teach everybody. I'm doing like a workshop masterclass on how to overcome the no Canadian experience barrier. Okay, so in this workshop today, I'm going to go over a few things with you guys, what companies are looking for when they're hiring, how to position yourself as a solution provider, and how to craft a resume to Canadian corporate standards. And that's like the big mark that I find a lot of candidates, especially newcomers, miss the mark on. Okay, so a little about who am I? So my name's Gurpreet Kaur Mann, and I am an HR expert. I have 14 plus years of HR expertise experience working in Canadian corporations from all different sizes of corporations. And I also run my own HR consulting company full-time. It's called HR Superhero. I've been running this company for about 5+ years. I'm also a career and job search strategist coach. I've been doing this as well for 14+ years. So I've been teaching workshops for actively a lot since last year, but I've also taught over the various different years as well. And this workshop's one that I have successfully taught since last year, and many of the individuals that taken this workshop actually landed jobs, their first job in Canada without having to do survivor jobs in Canada or taking low-paying jobs.
So when you say survivor jobs, what does that mean exactly?
Well, survivor jobs just means that a lot of newcomers come to Canada, and then unfortunately, because they can't land jobs because they don't have Canadian experience, then they have to take survivor jobs. It can be like working in a factory, Tim Hortons. So any means to make money. So that's considered a survivor job. So it's not in their industry. So sadly, they got their immigration based on skills that they have. And it's, they got the immigration because there's a shortage of skills in Canada, but then when they come here, no one's hiring them because, well, you don't have Canadian experience, but they still need to make money. So they end up taking jobs that are not in their field. So it can be manufacturing, working in factories, Uber driver, if they got a car, Tim Hortons and whatnot. And that's what we call a survival job.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go right into the presentation on what companies look for when they're hiring. I think this is the most crucial part that you need to understand before you begin your job search. You need to understand what are companies looking for, right? So hiring managers are looking for few different things. One, well, to make their life easier. Okay, there's problems, they have headaches, there's pain points, and they want someone to come in and do the job, take all their headaches away, and be a provider providing solutions to the problems. So you got to understand pain points. You need to understand what are the problems the organizations are struggling with, right? Companies are hiring, let's be real, companies hire to make money. That's what they're in business for.
Yeah.
And you have to understand where in that group in the pie do you fit in. Okay, you have to be a solution provider. You have to be someone that can solve their problems. So that's step one. That's what companies, especially hiring managers, are looking for. Someone that they can make their lives easier. People who can hit the ground running. Now, a lot of hiring managers don't want to babysit. They don't want to be hold-handy. They're hiring capable individuals who can do the job. So you have to be someone that can roll up the sleeves and dive right into the role. Okay? Again, go back to making the manager's life easier, hitting companies' goals. So as I said earlier, companies are in the business to make money, and that's, you got to speak the money language here. So it's all about getting results, 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 results. If you can get company results, you will get hired. And if you can't get the results, you won't get hired. So typically speaking, a lot of people think it's their experience and their skills that get them hired. No, it's your brain. You're getting hired for your brain. You're getting hired for the results you can get them. Again, money. It goes right back to money. And these are the important 3 things you need to keep in mind when you are going to start looking for a job here in Canada. So looking for, again, I'm going to touch deeper into this. Looking for solution providers, individuals who can solve their pain points. You're probably sitting there thinking, well, how do I now figure out pain points? How do I position myself as a solution provider? So what you want to do is you want to be able to solve their pain points, but then you need to understand, well, what can be the possible pain points? So first thing, when you come to Canada, or if you're not even in Canada, we all have Google. Start researching in your industry in Canada. What are some of the challenges that are happening right now in the industry? Okay. COVID is one example. COVID-19 has hit everybody so hard, but specifically Canada, given the fact that Canada was in a country that relied on other countries. Everything we used to get was supplied by other companies. We barely had manufacturing. We weren't really producing our own products. We were getting shipment from around the world. And when COVID happened, well, guess what happened? No one can come in, right? And we had no supplies. And countries didn't want to supply us, not even masks.
The whole toilet paper fiasco.
People were nuts buying toilet paper because they were produced from China. So COVID basically created such a ruckus in everyone's lives. But even in Canada, it was a big hit with the supply and demand that was happening. A lot of organizations were suffering because of COVID. Individuals were suffering for COVID. And still are, because, borders are still closed. Yeah, fine, some shipments are coming in. But COVID has created such a big obstacle in every organization's in every organization right now. So you want to use COVID and ask yourself, well, what are some of the challenges in your industry or the companies you're targeting to work for? What are they suffering with when it comes to COVID? Also, on the flip side, there were industries that boomed because of COVID. Amazon, for example, booming, still booming. They can't even keep up with the deliveries. So when a company is booming and boomed overnight and can't keep up with the demand, what's going to happen? They also have obstacles. They're also having pain points because now their website's being flooded, but they don't have people to deliver. They can't deliver products to the customers fast like they were able to at one point. So they're looking for delivery solution providers. They're like hiring like there's no tomorrow. But again, they have a pain, right? Just because they're booming doesn't mean that, oh my, they don't have any pains, right? So every organization right now has an obstacle and a pain. The biggest pain is COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so that's one big clue you have right there to find out what the pain point is, but it requires you to do some research. Okay, industry specific. Now, your biggest barrier is that you don't have Canadian experience, but this can be the biggest asset you may have because let's face it, Canada is not the most progressive country. There's other countries out there that are more progressive, more advanced than Canada is. So do a comparison analysis on your industry from your home country and how is your industry different in Canada? What are some things that are similar? What are some things that are different? So do the gap analysis as well to really understand the industry and then also understand the gaps from Canada to your home country, because those gaps are going to be your asset. Because if you can close those, because you can close those gaps, because your country might be well in advance, right? So industry specific pain points for you as a newcomer could be a little bit easier to identify just because if you come from a country that's well versed or fully developed or advanced, like Dubai is so advanced than Canada is. So don't think that you're coming to this promised land of Canada and then you think that we are really progressive. We are not, okay? We are not this progressive country. Some things you might be shocked to be given this shock that, oh my God, this Canada is so backwards.
It's still a great place to live, though. Come on.
Great, great, great country. I love Canada. I'm blessed to be born here. But when I talk to immigrants that have come from like Dubai or one of those rural progressive countries, and especially in technology, they're so advanced. And then they're like, what is this? Well, you guys don't even have this. So, but that's your asset. That is your asset. That is your biggest asset, leveraging technology or leveraging your expertise. You may be advanced compared to Canada. You may be advanced compared to people in your industry in Canada. So that becomes your biggest asset. Don't underestimate your assets just because you don't have Canadian experience. Yeah, people are gonna have this, oh my God, you don't have no Canadian experience. And that has nothing to do with you. It has a lot more to do with them. They don't know your credentials. They don't know what your country is. They don't know what you guys do in that country from your industry specific. So it's just a little bit of a phobia. But the biggest way to overcome it is knowledge is power. So research, and know the industry, do the gap analysis, and leverage your expertise on how you can help solve their problems. Also keep in mind that, for example, IT is a universal language. Last time I checked, Java coding doesn't change from country to country. So again, know your industry, know your technical skills. Even HR, for example, people do not change from country to country. People's behaviors do not change from country to country. Yes, maybe culture, organization culture, but when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with people. The only thing that's going to change from country to country is employment laws. Again, research and educate yourself and know the laws as well in the country you're coming to, which is Canada. Company specific. If you already have an idea of the companies you want to work for, start researching those companies as well. Start researching, do Google alerts. If it's public companies, you can Google and learn so many things about public companies. Their informations are widely available. Don't underestimate the power of researching. Second, problems. Identify problems they are facing currently. Again, as I highlighted, COVID has created so much challenges. There's probably industry-specific challenges as well. So once you can identify the problem, you already have an upper hand than other candidates. Now you want to demonstrate how you will solve these problems. So once you can identify the problem, also come up with solutions. Maybe you've already solved these problems in your home country because maybe in your industry in Canada is a little bit lagging or a little bit behind your home country. Now you have it again, you have an upper hand advantage. So don't underestimate your experience from your home country, and don't see it as a weakness. You got to see it as a plus point. You got to see it as an asset. You're bringing something other candidates probably not bringing to the table. But the biggest thing is you got to believe in your experience. If you're going to let people tell you, oh, you don't have Canadian experience, and then you start seeing it as a weakness, then that's going to be a downfall. But take it from me, from an HR perspective, I can tell you your experience from your home country is probably your biggest advantage. So use it.
Exactly. It's not, no Canadian experience isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you can be from somewhere better in some aspects and make Canada better as well with your experience and what you're interested within Canada.
Exactly. And that's that's why you got the immigration, to be honest. Is there's skills that are lacking, there's set skills that are lacking here in Canada, and hence why Canada's giving immigration to, they're not giving it to everybody. You're getting it because you have set skills that are lacking. There's a shortage in Canada, but you need to learn how to navigate that. You need to learn how to use that to your advantage. Now, companies are not going to know your experience. Yeah, they may see you don't have Canadian experience, but again, if you start researching and start leveraging your knowledge, right? If you research, you'll know the problems the industry is having here in Canada, your industry, right? Your profession also, right? So again, knowledge is power. Now, how do you know what employers' pain points are? So there's few ways to find this out. When you're applying to jobs, you can use job postings as an example. You got to be able to read in between the lines. Some companies will probably openly talk about, here's who we're looking for, right? So if they're looking for particular people, it's because they have a particular problem and they need that solved, right? So job description is also one of your biggest asset to leverage to find out what are some of the challenges. Researching. Google, Google alerts. It blows my mind how many people don't think of using Google to research. Also, your other biggest advantage you have is a great website called Glassdoor.com. Now, you don't want to use Glassdoor. You can use Glassdoor to do research on a company's culture and all that stuff, but read in between the lines as well. You'll see employees talking about the internal problems the company is having. You will also be able to find employees that are talking about departmental problems. So if you're trying to get into a particular department, you can get that knowledge from Glassdoor.com. So research. Go to industry-specific websites. If you are PM, then join the PM website on Canada, right?
I think you can also get like the interview questions sometimes from Glassdoor, depending on your position. It's a great resource.
Yeah, Glassdoor, which I don't like that feature as an HR because I think it's not fair to other candidates. Like the first candidate that came to interview, it's not fair to them. But hey, if they want to go back and now go to Glassdoor and write all the questions that were asked, then that's upon them. But yes, you're right. There's a feature on Glassdoor about interviews, and people are posting interview questions that were asked in the interview as well. So yeah, Glassdoor is actually a really, really great website for candidates, job seekers. Really great website, but use it to also discover some of the problems the company's probably facing. Also, hiring managers. Now, you can actually directly, you don't even need to apply to a job. You can actually directly find out who the hiring manager is. It's, and a little bit in a 500 Fortune company, bigger global organizations, maybe a little bit difficult to find out who the hiring manager is, but it's pretty easy. All you have to do is go on LinkedIn and type the company name, and then go look for senior people in the department. And then reach out to them. And well, don't reach out to say, here's my cover letter and here's my resume. No, you want to have a strategic approach. You want to reach out to them and say, introduce yourself and say, I saw that you're hiring for this position, but what I really want to know is, what are your problems? What are your challenges? I want to know if I can solve them. And if I can't solve them, then there's no point in me applying for this job. Now, that's a one surefire way to actually really get the inside scoop on what are they struggling with. So use it. We have technology, so we should be using LinkedIn to reach directly to hiring managers. Also, your past roles. Look at every role you've held. What problems did you solve? What problems were you solving? You'll see that a lot of times you were solving the same problems, but probably providing a different solution because the company is different. So there's also surefire way to know what problems it is, just by reflecting back on your career. Each job you've held, what problems were you solving? So these are 4 proven ways to actually discover pain points of any organization. And then once you have this knowledge, now you want to ask yourself, well, how can you solve this problem? And then what's going to be the outcome and result for the company? Now, outcome and results. I'm going to go back to saying it's all about money. So there's 2 categories that everybody falls under. You are either generating money for the company, so that's revenues, or you are saving costs. Every single person falls into one of these 2. I'm HR, I'm saving company cost. So I fall under the cost saving. I'm not adding revenues. I'm not a salesperson. So I'm adding revenues, right? Salespeople, marketing people, social media, digital marketing, these guys are directly adding to companies' revenues, right? But you might be in a client-facing organization like Accenture, where you're working with clients. Your delivery is adding revenue. If you deliver a satisfied product or project to an end client, you are adding to the revenues indirectly. So there's direct way to add to revenues, there's indirect way to add revenues, but also cost saving. So got to keep in mind that you're either generating revenues or you're cost saving for the company. You have to find out where do you fall.
It's all about the money.
It's always about the money. I don't care what people have to say. You got to talk the business language. In order to get a job, you have to speak business. Business is all about money. It's all about money. Shareholders, what do they care about? Money.
Make me money or save me money, or else leave me alone.
Exactly, right? So make money or save money. But you need to find out, what do you do? What are you good at? Saving money? Are you going to save money to the company? But don't just say, hey, I save you money. They're not like, like, okay, great. But how? How are you going to save us money? How much money are you going to save us? Millions? 2 millions? Again, data, speak volume, get your data. And now when you get your data, I understand you're going to get it from your home country, but translate that data to Canadian. So if it's like, for example, if you're using dollar value, convert it into Canadian. Don't just put your home country currency, because then that's going to be a little bit challenging for the reader to understand what exactly does that equal to Canadian dollars. So you always want to relate it back to the reader.
Would you say that maybe putting it in terms of percentages, just so that, because sometimes with the currency and the exchange rates, like this much money in India or wherever, isn't as much in Canada. So being like, oh, I saved like $5,000 Canadian might not seem as impressive, but when you add that percentage, like if, I added 80% more revenue, that kind of gets the point across a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. When I say data, it doesn't always have to equal dollar amount. It can be percentages as well. So data still is like a evidence base supporting your statement. So data always speaks volume. Yeah, you're right. Like 5,000 Canadian may not be sound glorifying, but like if we take $5,000 to convert it to like say Indian rupees, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use percentages. You can say your home country's currency, but then just in brackets put equal to Canadian kind of thing. So they kind of get an idea of what does that look like, right? So yeah, you can use both, but definitely use percentages as well. So the other thing you want to do is learn the language, the lingual, and terminology, because now language and terminologies will be different from country to country. Heck, they're also different from province to province, state to state. So like if you go to US, each state has their own kind of way of talking. If you go from the same thing in Canada, if you go from province to province, there's a little bit of a difference in how people talk. So you want to learn terminology and language. Now, the biggest obstacle is going to be your language gap. So from my own experience, I can tell you when people reach out to me on LinkedIn and call me ma'am, I already know the newcomer. Because we in Canada, no one addresses anybody by ma'am and sir.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So you gotta integrate into the culture you're coming into. Yes, your home country, like for example, India and Pakistan, uses sir and ma'am as a respect. But here we don't. Nobody cares for sir and ma'am. It's not that you're just respecting anybody, but it's just not a norm here. And when it's not a norm and someone's using it, then you know they're not from here. So you want to avoid being seen as someone that's a newcomer, because that's your biggest obstacle, is that if they know you're a newcomer, then their guards a little bit will go up and this person's new, they don't know anything about Canadian culture and so on. That's the other reason why companies will hesitate to hire newcomers, is the integration into the Canadian corporate culture. So culture, right? So little things can go a long way by just dropping things that don't belong in the country you are immigrating into. So sir and ma'am is again, don't use it, because no one uses it unless.
Also, if as a woman, if I get called ma'am, I'm immediately gonna feel like I'm old. It might come across badly for ladies, especially.
Yeah, that too. Like, I'm not a ma'am. I'm not. Right, and some people may take offense to it, right? May not like it. They may, as you pointed out, you may feel like you're old. I do too. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So learn the language. Learn the language on how people talk in Canada. You can watch TV shows. I remember somebody I know who, when she immigrated, I think 20 years ago, so she learned so much by just watching a TV show called Friends. It was an American show, but still she learned a lot. So start learning. If you're not in Canada right now, start watching English shows. Start watching US shows. US and Canada, like, as much as we're two different countries, but there's a lot of things that overlap. Start watching TV shows, corporate type of shows, so you can learn a lot. You want to also learn industry language. So again, goes back to terminology and how people speak in your industry. Certain things that you are used to saying in your industry, in your home country, may not be the same way how people communicate and the same terms are being used, right? So again, learn the industry language in Canada. Second point is terminology. There will be a lot of different terminologies as well. Like my sister moved from Canada to US, from Ontario to California, and she had to do this. She's like, not not such a big difference between Canada and US, but then California and Ontario, just a little bit of a language. And she worked for a global company, consulting company, Accenture. She started doing project with California companies, and there was a little bit of a terminology difference. How I forgot what word she used, but they didn't use that in California. So there is a difference. So learn the industry specific terms in your industry in Canada, field specific. So like if you are a Java developer, then you want to learn Java developer languages, not just, so when I say industry specific, I mean IT specific, then go really niche into your core of your field. So if I'm HR, I'm going to look at all the HR components, but if I specialize in one thing in HR, for example, like training and development, but now I need to know all the HR terms, but I also need to learn my field expertise terms. So learn that as well, profession specific as well. So industry can be if you're in manufacturing. I did this a little bit wrong. Industry is in HR. HR is a profession. So I'm going to have to learn profession specific. But if my experience is all manufacturing, that's industry. So the industry you're targeting and you want to get into, it could be consumers, it can be retail, it can be manufacturing, it can be banking. So you want to learn industry specific, your field specific, and your profession. Okay. And one of the biggest way to even get, again, you can research and do Google, but you can also start joining associations, chapters into your industry and your profession. So like HRPA in Canada, sorry, that's just Ontario. Try to, again, you can use Google to do this, is try finding groups that are targeting your industry in the country, in Canada, which I'm going to get into near the end of my presentation. We're going to give you tools and tips that you can use. Okay. And corporate culture. Now, I put dress code as one of the example is, yeah, you might be coming from a country that has a more relaxed dress code, and you might be a little bit shocked to find how companies may have a different dress code here in Canada. So depending on the industry, again, banking, it's all about dressing professional.
It could also be the opposite. I think people, the startup scene and the tech scene in Canada is very relaxed. I've seen people walk in their pajamas, whereas, someone from another country may be used to having to go in a suit and tie every day, same position.
Exactly. So it depends on the industry, like manufacturing as well. I've worked in manufacturing. It's a little bit relaxed. You can wear jeans to work. But that doesn't mean, ladies, that doesn't mean you can show up in tank tops. Right? So that could be, again, that's why I put dress code, because, maybe in the home country of yours, maybe sleeveless tops or tank tops are considered professional, right? And there's okay to do that. But here in Canada, that's not considered professional dressing. So there could be like a tad little bit of a difference on dress coding. So you can educate yourself on that. Corporate culture, again, you can learn about the Canadian corporate culture by watching YouTube videos on corporate culture in Canada. Google research and start talking to people from your industry in the country in Canada. I also put down bridging programs. Now, government in Canada has done a phenomenal job by having employment centers be funded by government. And these employment agencies, so there's a difference. Employment centers that are funded by government are equipped to help bridge the gap in the culture. So corporate culture, you can actually find the nearest employment centers around you. When you immigrate, start doing this work actually before you immigrate. Start looking at different types of employment programs that are available to you, so you can start taking them right now, because a lot of them are online now because of COVID. So take the advantage and take the bridging programs. A lot of them are free. A lot of them are free. and they have created strategic partnerships with a lot of these bigger organizations that are backing them and funding them. So take advantage and join bridging programs that are backed up by employment centers that are funded by government, so they're free to use.
Yeah, I know a number of them help with things like getting your bank set up, maybe working on Canadian English specifically, because it's a little different from American English and British English, to be honest. And so getting the accents and pronunciation of certain words and the spelling as well as it's little things, but people do notice it.
Yeah, people do notice it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you can overcome those challenges right off the bat, even if you haven't even immigrated. I do believe if you work with the immigration services, I don't know what they're called, but you should be working with the immigration services. They should be able to tell you, we have these services. This individual is talking to, they said they give you a kit. You can get, if they haven't given you a kit where it tells you all these different services that are available to you, make sure you get it from the Canadian Immigration Services.
Because they can even help with finding you a job and helping you find a job and put together resumes and stuff like that. It's a great resource.
That's where I would say don't go.
Oh,
no. Employment centers are the worst places to help you find a job. Sadly, you want to use them for all the free resources. Mm-hmm. Don't use them for resume writing, which the next slide I'm actually going to tell you how to write a resume, because that is the biggest challenge. And employment centers, unfortunately, I'm not saying all of them are bad. There might be just 10% that are actually really good. Mm-hmm. But none of these guys have ever worked in the corporate world, so they can't really guide you on how to write a resume because they've never worked in the corporate world. So if you're trying to get in the corporate world, I'm going to actually tell you how to write a Canadian resume. First of all, things not to avoid. You're coming from a different country and you're used to writing resumes for your country. Now, Canada has all these laws that protect employees, protect candidates. So one of the things that we have is human rights. We have discrimination on age, sex, and ethnic background. So one of the biggest things you want to avoid is you don't want to disclose your age. You don't need to disclose your status, like if you're single, married, how many kids you have, and don't put a picture on your resume. The reason you don't want to put a picture on your resume is, I know it's like a little bit of a fashion trend to put a picture, and you also have LinkedIn, but on a resume, I would tell you avoid it, and I'll get into a little bit on why it needs to be avoided, especially if you're applying to jobs online. But the reason when you avoid it is also you don't want someone to create an opinion about you based on how you look, and that's discrimination. Mm-hmm. So don't put personal information on your resume other than your name and your email address and your phone number is fine. Job titles. This is another area that a lot of people miss the mark. Avoid writing job titles that are based on your country. You want to do some little bit of research on, one I always see on resumes like deputy manager. I have no clue what that means. Like deputy marketing manager or deputy this, right? Now, nobody here uses deputy. We call it marketing manager, additional marketing manager, additional marketing manager, or director, and so on. So you want to use titles that are Canadian job titles, not your home country. So you want to start looking at, again, this requires doing some homework and research on using titles that are Canadian recognized job titles, not your home country. So you're going to have to now make your resume. I understand, and it's not that you're lying. You're not lying, but you're making your titles readable and understandable to the reader. Because in the end of the day, the reader is reading your resume. The reader needs to understand what you're saying. And if they don't understand what you're saying, then that will create an obstacle for you. Because now, another sure way of not coming across that you're new to Canada is having job titles that are Canadian Pacific.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like an easy way to kind of tackle that would be look at the jobs that you're applying for, and if the responsibilities are the same, use the same titles, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you can do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jobs you're applying to, use that job title. Also, what you want to avoid on your resume is writing responsibilities and duties under all your roles. You are more than a job description. You are an individual that have solved problems, gotten companies results, you've implemented solutions. So do not just copy paste job description and put them as your resume. I see this a lot, and it's why people are struggling with their resumes getting jobs, is because you're just showcasing that you're just somebody that does responsibility and duties, but you're not a problem solver. You're not someone that can provide solutions and get them results. Going back to the first point in my presentation was, you want to come across as someone that's a solution provider, not just a job description.
So we have a question from the audience. Diane says, wouldn't changing your job titles be treated as a misrepresentation?
No, because again, as I said, like, I don't know what deputy manager means. If you just put deputy manager, I have no clue what that means, right? But if you take out the deputy and you put, say, marketing manager, now I know what you're manager of marketing. That is not misrepresentation. Misrepresentation would be like if you're saying that you were a VP of the company, but yet you were a manager. That's a misrepresentation. But if you're a manager, right? So I see deputy manager a lot on resumes, but I'm just saying drop deputy and just write the area you were manager of. If it was marketing, write marketing. If you were HR manager, then write HR manager. Still, it's not a misrepresentation unless you intentionally are doing it.
Okay.
Also, when you are applying to jobs in Canada and you're going to use online, companies are using ATS. Now, ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. Now, maybe your home country doesn't use this. And I've talked to people from different countries, and they're like, they don't even know what ATS is. And their country, companies in their country doesn't use it. So this will be another obstacle you're going to have to learn, is about applicant tracking system. So ATS is a short version. So your resume has to be ATS friendly, because when you're applying to jobs online, every single company out there is using a system, which is applicant tracking system. So it's just a system that when you're applying, your resume goes into. And then end user like myself, HR and recruiters and talent acquisitions, we go into the system. So if we posted a job, we're using ATS to post it, and we're telling the system what to screen for. When like 500 plus applicants are applying to one job, we're going to have machines. We're going to leverage technology. And technology is ATS. We're leveraging in a system called ATS that's going to screen the incoming resumes for us. It can also rank candidates for us. So the other challenge is the ATS. So hence, I'm going to tell you how to create an ATS friendly resume. Now, ATS cannot read tables. It's not designed to read tables. It's not designed to read graphics. It's not designed to read headers and footers. It's not designed to read textbook. All it can read is simple text. That's it. Simple text. So if you want something to be read by ATS, then you have to make sure you're not using tables. And some ATS can't even pick up words in columns. So again, columns a little bit a question mark, because it just depends on the ATS. There are tons of ATS in the market, and every company is using a third party. No company has built their own ATS unless it's a company that provides ATS. ATS, applicant tracking systems, are always third-party systems. So some of them can read columns, some of them can't.
So stay away from the nice, fancy-looking resumes, unfortunately.
There's a way to use things in your resume to still make it look great. So again, avoid tables, don't use graphics. Don't put important information in header and footers that you may want the ATS to pick up, for example, your name. So what you can do is you can don't put your name in the header or footer in the first page, but then create a header in the second page and third page. Text boxes, don't use text boxes, just use a simple Word document. Honestly, the best place to create your resume for ATS is just use a Word document. Simple. But don't use tables. You can use graphics so long as it's not something you want the ATS to pick up. So ATS will pick up words only, and it has to be just text. That's it. Okay.
So strategically using keywords then would be good for like work in your advantage.
Yes, you're going to have to then leverage job descriptions to make sure that you are using the right terms and keywords. Your resume actually has to match 100% the job you're applying to. Now, there are tools out there like JobScan, Resume, got the other one, Resume, I think it's called. So JobScan allows you to copy paste the job description that you're applying to, the job you're applying to, and then submit your resume, and it'll tell you how you rank. Like, is your resume matching 80%, 70%?
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you're going to use online method, you're going to have to make sure you're matching 100%. 100%. Your resume has to match 100% to the job you're applying to. So now ATS friendly resume kind of looks like this. This is how the format should be. You always want to have, like, you don't need to have your address. You just need to have your name, and city and province will do, your email and your phone number.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have like a value prop statement or a profile summary. I call it value proposition statement, basically telling the companies how you're going to get them results and why they should hire you. Now, this is a little bit done in a column setting. Again, there's systems that can pick up columns, systems that can't pick up columns, but you still want to add skills table. This is a skills table, pretty much highlighting your skills. Then you have your experience. You can summarize your duties and responsibilities easy in a paragraph, and then use bullets to talk about accomplishments, achievements in that role. Education should always be listed in the bottom if you are experienced professional. And the only thing I wouldn't do is don't have your technical skills on the bottom, actually have your technical skills on the top as well. So this is an example of a resume that's ATS friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have other tips to help you get going, to hit the ground running. First thing, I put UFT, that stands for University of Toronto. Now, I understand as a newcomer, you already got your credentials evaluated from, what is it called? World West, WES, World Education Services. Now, here's the drawback in that, great, you got it done. You had to get it done through them for your immigration purposes. But in the companies, no one knows what the value is. Like, WES is generalized. It's just saying, hey, it's equivalent to Canadian standard, but what standard? Because universities all have different standards.
That's true, yeah.
So what standard are you falling under?
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is University of Toronto is one of the top universities in Canada. They actually, they do charge for this, but they will evaluate your credentials, and if it's up to their standards, they will stamp on it, and you can use the name. And now, University of Toronto versus WES, which one you think the company will understand your degree value, the standard of your degree? UFT, not WES. WES is just a generalized, right? Yeah. But University of Toronto has weight, name, branding, right? Brand. Mm-hmm. It's recognized. Everybody knows it's one of the top universities in Canada. So be strategic in your approach, spend some money and get it done. You can get this done while you're still in your home country. There's a website. I copy pasted the website. So make sure you click on it and go online. It's as easy as doing it online. So just do it. It's well worth spent the money to get a recognized university stamping on, evaluating your credentials and stamping their name on it. Highly, highly recommended. I know people who've done this. My cousins have done this. Boom, had no issues getting jobs. Again, name has volume, right? Value to it. University of Toronto's name, highly recognized university. Get a mentor. You can use Trek mentorship partnership. organization to help you find a mentor. You can go online and find a mentor in Canada in your industry yourself. Okay, you can leverage LinkedIn as well. So the third point is start using LinkedIn. Have a LinkedIn profile. Start engaging with people in Canada from your industry. Start engaging with their content. You can start writing content on LinkedIn, start writing posts. So you're creating awareness about you before you even get to Canada, right? You can actually get a job before you even get to Canada, or literally in 2 weeks you've landed in Canada, right? But these are things, leverage technology now. LinkedIn doesn't require you to physically be in Canada. All you have to do is change your LinkedIn location to Canada, pick a city that you're immigrating to, say Toronto, and just start talking to people in Toronto.
Yeah.
That hence goes right back into the fourth point is groups. There's Facebook groups. There's LinkedIn groups. You can start joining. Again, sky's the limit. Go broader. There's a newcomers group on Facebook. LinkedIn also has a newcomers group. You can target your industry-specific groups in Toronto that are on LinkedIn and on Facebook. There is LinkedIn meetup groups. Now, third group I put down is a website called meetup.com. They also have a lot of events and groups as well. Now, Meetup is a phenomenal website, phenomenal because you name it, they have it. There's a group for everything. Personal, professional, you name it, it's there. Start making friends. Go on these groups, start talking to people, start getting active. The action you take before you even get to Canada will hardly speed up your process in landing a job, right? You don't want to get to Canada. Guys, I'll be very honest, depending on what home country you are in, cost of living in Canada, especially if you're immigrating to Toronto or Vancouver, is very high. It's very high. So you want to do everything before you get here to ensure that when you get here, you're lined up for interviews, job interviews, and everything. And because of COVID, a lot of companies are already doing video interviews. So technically speaking, you don't even have to be here to do the interview now, because they're already doing it on videos, right? Join all these groups. Apps, there's other apps you can use that are phenomenal as well to help you network. Shaper, SHRPR. If you're already in Canada, download it. You can also download Bumble. Bumble has Bumble Biz, which is a networking app, and Bumble BFF, which is to make friends. Bumble would a little bit work different because you have to physically be in the country. So if you're already in the country, use Bumble. And Shaper. Shaper is a great networking app that starts by using your LinkedIn profile. You can set it up I think the paid one probably allows you to set it up so you can actually meet people outside of the country you live in. So these are other useful tools that are available to you to use that you should definitely be using. If there's one thing you can do right now to elevate and get really acquainted with people in your industry to help you land a job the minute you get here, your biggest power right now is LinkedIn. You probably don't even have to do anything other than just sleep, breathe, eat LinkedIn.
And there's so many virtual events across the board with LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Meetup. I feel like people think, Meetup's actually about meeting, but they've switched. The whole world switched to it being virtual.
Yeah, take advantage of COVID, right? COVID has created everything virtual now. Everything is happening virtual. So you can literally be in your home country and still attend an event in Canada.
And get that insider info before coming over. It's important.
You should be going to attend all the free events available to you right now, sitting in your home country, attend all the virtual online events. But the key is don't stay mute. Don't attend these events and then don't talk to anybody. Even like today, if you're live right now watching this live, start talking, write your comments, talk to other people. But if you're just going to stay mute, no one knows you exist right now. No one knows you exist, right? So you don't want to stay mute. You want to basically create a ruckus that you exist. Go nuts on online platforms in a professional manner, not like a psycho talking people, no. But in a professional, genuine, human way. Be everywhere and everywhere so you're hard to miss. And now that goes into my last presentation, which is questions. So if you have questions, feel free to ask now.
We have one question from Henry Shop, and it's, what's the overall job market in Canada now, and where do you suggest a newcomer should focus?
So now I'm going to go into a whole different topic because this question is asking about market. There's always a market for everything. You got to create the market. So a lot of times people think that, oh, okay, you know, I'm online, I don't see a job posting. That means jobs don't exist. That's not the truth though, because in Canada, but I think it works across all countries, but I'll just speak on Canada and US. 80 to 90% of jobs that are available that are actually exist, you will never see them. They're not visible, they're not posted, they're not posted anywhere, and they're not visible to the human eye. They're not even advertised, and that's called the hidden job market. Now, that's all about creating a brand for yourself, knowing the networking, again, being everywhere and everywhere, so that you can get access to these jobs because they're not posted. LinkedIn is one surefire way to get discovered into getting jobs. To these 80 to 90%. And building your brand also leverages creating a demand for yourself and you can create a demand for yourself. You don't have to rely on online job searching, but I would suggest the biggest way anyone, even if you're not a newcomer, this advice goes to every single career professional out there. You need to leverage the power of LinkedIn. A lot of people are not truly leveraging LinkedIn. That's because a lot of people just see it as a job board. It's not a job board. It never was a job board. It's always, always, always been a networking platform.
What about people who maybe they are nervous, they don't want to come across as annoying or spammy? Like, what's a good way to avoid that and maybe get your feet wet a little bit in terms of reaching out to people?
So the biggest mistake people make is people don't know how to network. People only think of networking when they need something, and that's not networking. So what you want to do is you want to build genuine relationship with people. It's like making friends. I don't use the word networking. I replaced it with making friends, because we all know how to make friends. We all know how to make friends. We will never become friends with people that just want something from us. We're human beings. We don't like to be used. It's human nature, right? None of us like people taking advantage of us. None of us like people using us. None of us like when people only come to us when they need something from us, right? So run these scenarios in your head before you approach somebody. Would you like it if someone approached you this way, a total stranger? LinkedIn now, the best way to engage with people on LinkedIn is start engaging with their content. Start writing comments. Like, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I write posts almost every day. Sometimes I write 2-3 posts a day. There's tons of people like me that are active on LinkedIn. You can start writing and engaging with me with my content by writing comments on my content, right? And then read my content, and maybe there's something in my content that really resonated with you. Now you can message me on that. Hey, I read this post. Actually, tell me what post, and say it resonated with me. Then go into how did it resonate with you. Maybe this particular situation happened to you, right? Now we can talk. We have something in common to talk about, right? Common interest. We all are human beings, and we connect with other humans on common connections, common ground. But again, if you're just sending a bunch of connection requests and then just sending a cover letter and your resume to people, that's really not networking. And that's where 95% of people fail in networking, is they don't know how to network. You can't make it about you. You have to make it all about the person you're reaching out to. It's got to be about them, not you.
Like, have a conversation, be open to sharing your opinions and your experiences, and also listen. Or, like, you know, it's a two-way street. It's not a lot of that. We have another question from Tushmal. can the ATS system detect words when columns have been used in shaping the resume in a particular format? I think you kind of covered that earlier.
Kind of covered that. Like if it's columns being used, again, it's like a yes or no thing. It's like you either take a shot at it. I would say just avoid columns altogether. I know the example I showed had columns, but you can use columns. I've been using them when I was a job seeker, nothing happened. But you can also use, I don't know what you call it, but it's this, I'm looking at the keyboard now. There's this line that I use it in my headline on my LinkedIn as well. You can use that little symbol that looks like a line to you list your skill, one skill, then space, and then you use that little line symbol and then space, and then you list another word, a skill, and then space, and then that line. So it's like a divider dividing up. So you can do it that way as well, just like how I have it on my LinkedIn headline. So you can do that, or you can use columns, but just use a basic column. Don't get
just one column, or
you can do like 2-3 columns. You can do that. I've again, this is like a miss and hit. Majority of ATS out there are capable now to read columns. So it's not a make or break deal.
Okay. We don't seem to have any more additional questions, but an audience member named Alan says hi, he exists. So I think he's starting to take your advice already. So I guess if anyone has any final questions, if not, then thank you so much, Gurpreet. I think this has been really valuable for everyone watching, and for the audience, thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this, there's one more from Neville.
There's two more.
Two more. Okay.
Three more.
3 more.
That's why you thought there's no more questions.
I should have let it sit a bit. All right. Well, tips for Corona pandemic during your job search. What do you have? Any?
Tips for coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, it's exactly what my presentation was. Pain points. Hit on problems. Do research. Don't just start aimlessly applying to jobs. Be very strategic on what is it that you bring to the table. A lot of people don't even know what they bring to the table. But the biggest bulletproof is you got to be able to solve their problems. You need to know what their problems are first. So this just goes back to the first thing I presented in today's presentation was know companies' pain points, know the problems, know your industry problems. In Canada, if you're immigrating to Canada, then you got to focus on the problems in Canada in your industry.
And another question related to ATS. Can ATS read different word forms of a word? For example, if JD has budget, would the ATS read budgeted?
It depends how it's set up. So this is a great question, but there's no right or wrong here. If I tell ATS to look for budget, it will look for budget, not budgeted. So it will probably read budget up to here, not ED.
So it would get the main stuff there.
It would get it. But like, for example, if he wrote JD, right? So let's take JD if you start writing acronyms is where you're going to fall short. So let's say JD, right? So if I told the ATS to pick up job description, like full word, and you kept writing JD, it's not picking it up. You got that's the acronyms where people will run into problems. You always want to write full words. Again, guys, this is not 100% bulletproof because it all comes down to the end user. I'm the end user. I'm one of the end users, right? There is millions of end users on ATS. It all depends on what the end user is telling the system to scan for. Also keep in mind when your resume goes into ATS, it stays there. So even if we don't have a job posting, a lot of companies will now post a job. They may already have a great talent pool in the ATS. They have all these resumes. So first thing companies usually do is before they go post a job, they will look at what's already in the ATS, what resumes they already have on file, which is the ATS, and then they're going to use words to search. So if you use acronyms, that's where you will run into problem, because if I'm searching for, say, marketing, marketing is a bad example because what's an acronym?
SEO and search engine optimization.
Yeah, well, I think we would type SEO. See, some acronyms, they're kind of like you would type them. Like, for example, HR, I would type HR. I probably type human resource and HR. So
it's the industry specific, like you mentioned, right?
yeah. So again, like if I didn't know about SEO, I would not be typing in SEO. I would type in search engine optimization, right? Again, it's a little bit hard because it all comes down to how much knowledge the end user has, right? So sometimes, like for example, PM. So PM, PM is a little bit of a great example because let's say I'm looking for a project manager. I'm not going to type PM. I'm going to type project manager. But if I want the project manager to have PMP, I will type project manager, comma, PMP. So now it's going to search for two things, right? So if you don't have a PMP, but you have project management, both of the candidates will show up. But again, I'm going to look for those two things first. And then the second card would be, okay, if I don't have enough candidates by PMP, then I'll go into the second best, which is without it, like has project manager experience. So again, there's no bulletproof formula. It comes down to what the criteria the end user has set. When you're applying to jobs online, the end user being me, like for example, if I'm using Taleo, I can tell it what to scan incoming resumes. If for a job posting, keep in mind it's about job posting. So if I posted a job, I can tell ATS, hey, look for these candidates with this experience. I'm telling it what to do. It's like an if statement, but it's just like automated. And if the candidate doesn't have X, then send a rejection letter. So sometimes you'll see within 48 hours or 24 hours, 48 to 2 days, you've already got a response saying, thank you, but we've gone with another candidate that match. That's all ATS. It's all generic. Someone hasn't even read your resume. Right? So now ATS will do all this for us, and then it will send us resumes. If I'm telling it to send me resumes only that matches X, Y, and Z, then I'll see those. But then I'm a human being. So this is where a lot of people fall short on ATS, is this get so caught up on the keywords that forget the human being is the one that's got to read it. And if that being is just reading a bunch of gibberish, which is just a bunch of keywords, I'm not going to call you, right? So you there's ATS and human being. The human being is the one that's going to call you. So that you got to keep the human element as well in your resume. So yes, it gets a little bit tricky, but hence why there's career coaches like me. Services.
And another question is from Gurpreet Singh, and they say, hi, my wife is a mathematics teacher, but she wants a job in customer service. Should she change her resume as she worked as CSR?
Well, first, has she worked as CSR, right? If she hasn't worked in customer service, she's a math teacher and has never worked in customer service setting. Now that's a little bit of a challenge, right? Because you can't you've never worked in customer service, you cannot magically change all your job titles, right? Now, this is where misrepresentation is going to happen when another individual was mentioned in the question was, well, isn't that misrepresentation with the job titles? This will be misrepresentation where you take in a teacher title and turned it into customer service. So that'll be misrepresentation. If she wants customer service, you're gonna have to look at all the jobs you worked and only highlight customer service skills. That means that her talking to her students, customer service. If you were just power tripping as a teacher, in some countries teachers do power trip, then you can't, right? So this will be a little bit an obstacle for her to go from teacher to customer service. Again, very doable, but it all comes down to her first, looking at what skills does she have. So you got to do some homework and research and do analysis here. What skills she already has that aligns perfectly with the customer service role. And then the entire resume needs to speak on customer service.
Yeah, you always want to tell the truth, but there definitely are hopefully some transferable skills between the different positions. Another question we have is, would academic and extracurricular achievements be worth mentioning in a resume in the case that you have over 5 years of work experience?
Depends. Again, when your resume is a marketing tool, think of a commercial. Let's say detergent commercial. Does a detergent commercial, any commercial, Coke, Pepsi, let's go with Coke because it's universal, it's global product. Now, does Coke commercials sit there and tell you how they made Coke from every little ingredients and how they tested the product and all the nitty-gritty stuff? And this is how we came up with Coke? No, they focus on what? The taste. It's gonna refresh you, right? They're marketing. They're not sitting there and telling you everything. They're only telling you, they're just touching on your pain points. Refresh, feel refresh. You're thirsty, drink a Coke, which probably not a good example, but I haven't heard a Coke commercial in a long time, but I love Coke. But they're gonna basically look at all the reasons why someone would drink Coke, right? Like your pain points. So usually I use the detergent as a perfect example. Is your pain point why do we need detergents? Why do we do laundry? We need clean clothes, right? So I'm wearing this today. See, I spilled something on it. Now it's
knock on wood.
Yeah, when you're eating and stuff like that. So stuff can fall on your clothes and, stain. So let's say I'm drinking coffee fell, now I have a coffee stain. Of course, I need to wash it right away. Or I need to wash it, right? So now this is dirty laundry. I'm going to throw in my dirty laundry pile, and then I'm going to do laundry and clean, right? Why? Because they're dirty clothes. We want them to be clean. So what we're going to look for a detergent. Well, okay, so I have this, it's dirty. I want the stain to be removed. I want the color to be preserved. I don't want the color to fade away. Sometimes more you wash it, the color just tends to fade away, and then the clothes start looking old, and they're probably not even 3 months old. So all these things, right? You're gonna look at all the problems and challenges. Now, when you look at the detergent commercials, they're hitting on your pain points. Dirty clothes, you have a stain. Summertime, it's always about the lawn stains, the grass stains, right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
They're hitting you on your pain points. And then they're saying, we're the solution. Our detergent will give you clean clothes, will remove that grass stain off of your whites. Whites will stay white, colors will be preserved, and all that stuff. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this product, right? They're not sitting there and tell you how they made the product, how many years it took them to make this product, or how many years they've been in business. No, they're just hitting you on your pain point, right? And some what we wrote, our product's been bought by millions of customers' data, right? Then they use a little bit of a data figure. And now you're gonna go buy. If you're in Canada, then you know what Tide is, right? Then you go buy Tide or any other detergent. But when you bought the detergent, did you flip the back and read all the information that's written, all the fine print and everything? No, you just bought the marketing package, right? Because it touched on your pain points. That's what your resume is. Your resume needs to touch on the company's pain points, and this is how you will solve it because you've already solved it in all these other companies. So stick to pain points, and if your volunteer experience is touching on that pain point, then you include it. If it's not, then you don't need to, and that's what LinkedIn's good for. You put it on the LinkedIn profile. Your resume is marketing. It's a marketing campaign.
Exactly. It's your personal brand.
Yeah, don't overkill the marketing campaign. When you are giving too much information, first of all, no one has time to read lengthy resumes. Human attention spans only 5 to 8 seconds. Proven research, human being will only retain 20% of what they read. And here's the other fun fact. HR and recruiters and talent acquisitions, we don't really read your resume right off the bat. We look for words, we do a quick scan, and within 5 to 6 seconds, we've already made our decision if you want to read your resume or not. Very fast. I would only read a resume if I'm interviewing you. If I'm not interviewing you, I'm not reading every single resume, every single word. I'm doing a quick scan for what I'm looking for.
It's Alan again, and he said, I'm a co-op student. Should I include my GPA in favor of a bullet point for a job description?
It's a personal choice, but I'll tell you, GPA, just because you have a high GPA doesn't mean you're getting into the job. Has nothing. It's all about what can you do? What can you do for the company? Some people are not good in theory, but they can be street smart.
Mm-hmm.
GPA has no bearing on getting jobs.
Yeah, you're better off describing what you did an internship, or maybe if there was a specific class that you had a project that actually.
You think he's a co-op student, so that
Yeah.
done co-op, he should focus on the results he got as a co-op student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
with the
all about the results. It's all about the problems you can solve, the solutions. Again, it has to relate to the company, right? It has to relate to the organization you're applying to. If you start talking about problems that has nothing to do with a company or the industry the company's in, they're not gonna hire you. You have to, again, it goes down to researching the company, their challenges, and then saying, hey, I can solve these because I solved these before.
All right, that's all the questions we have so far. I'm gonna give everyone another chance to ask final questions, and this time I won't do it too fast.
I think there's a StreamYard usually has a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, we'll give it some time. I think some of the key takeaways I got was leverage yourself in any way possible, including where you're from, and using those differences to your advantage rather than thinking it'll work against you. So Diane's wondering if you provide one-to-one guidance to people.
I do provide career coaching, job search as a service, which is a paid service. So under my company, HR Superhero, we do work with individuals on one-on-one basis, also run workshops, paid, everything's paid. Except for today's, this is a partnership with Remit. How do you pronounce your company name?
Remitbee.
Remitbee.
Yeah.
Other than that, anything else outside of any strategic partnerships, usually I do deliver workshops. I deliver a bootcamp program, which is my number one selling service is my bootcamp program that runs for 6 weeks, almost every month, and it's all about landing a job. So I do, but my services are paid.
Definitely check out her website at store.hrsuperhero.ca. And like she said, she's always on LinkedIn. So
yeah, I do LinkedIn Lives where I do live Q&A for job seekers or career advice. I have one today as well. So it's Q&A section. Yeah. Definitely best way to reach me is LinkedIn. And I'm very active. I do a lot of things on LinkedIn as well.
So yeah, thank you so much, Gurpreet, for joining us. And thank you to the audience. If you enjoyed today's session, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment, all of that fun stuff. And we may have another session with Gurpreet in a few weeks. So stay connected with us to get updates on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Benita. Thank you.
No problem. You're so happy that you were able to join us.
Thank you.